reports from the world's second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global South. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Kashmir on the 6th of June for the first time since the Pahalgam terror attack. He is set to launch major infrastructure projects in the Union Territory. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko meets with Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing and says his country and its true friend China are facing unprecedented pressure from the West. Ivory Coast's Electoral Commission disqualifies 4 major opposition figures, including the former President Laurent Gbagbo, from voting or running in the October presidential election. Vietnam scraps its decades-old 2-child limit as the communist government tries to reverse a steep decline in birth rates and stave off looming population crisis. And more than 1 million Muslims begin the annual Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca as Saudi authorities step up safety efforts. Last year, over 1,000 pilgrims died due to extreme heat. Hello and welcome. We start with Nigeria. As the country grapples with a decades-long Islamist insurgency, a new threat has now come to light. Now help to Nigerian terrorists may be coming from thousands of miles away from Pakistan. Last week, Nigeria arrested 4 Pakistani nationals for alleged terror links. The arrests were made in Borno State, a hotbed of Nigeria's insurgent activity. Major General Absalam Abubakar, theatre commander of anti-terror operations Hadin Kai, revealed shocking details during a security briefing. He said that Pakistani mercenaries have been training Boko Haram and Islamic State terrorists. They have provided both tactical and strategic expertise. With their help, terror groups have become deadlier, using drones for surveillance and attacks, and making sophisticated IEDs and booby traps targeting soldiers. Now, Nigeria has been battling a 16-year insurgency in the northeast, led by Islamist militant group Boko Haram. And its offshoot, Islamic State West Africa Province, tens of thousands have been killed or displaced. This year, both groups have seen a major resurgence after a period of relative calm. The arrest of Pakistani mercenaries now raises a bigger concern of cross-border terrorism. Pakistan-based terrorism may no longer be just a South Asian issue. It may now be spreading to Africa and beyond. Pakistan has long been accused of sponsoring terrorism. The most notorious Pakistani-based terror groups include Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. Their primary target has been India. Most recently, Pakistani and Pakistani-backed terrorists attacked innocent tourists in India's Pahalgam, killing 26. In response, India launched Operation Sindoor, a series of coordinated strikes that eliminated around 170 terrorists across Pakistan. An all-party delegation from India has since been engaged in global outreach, including to African nations, seeking stronger international consensus against Pakistan-backed terrorism. Meanwhile, Nigerian army officials are now calling for urgent action, including stronger intelligence sharing, enhanced surveillance, and bolder regional cooperation. Nigeria's defense chief has called for complete fencing of the country's borders with all 4 neighboring nations, including Niger, Cameroon, Benin, and Chad. Now, this is to curb the infiltration of foreign fighters and armed groups. But as Pakistan-backed terrorism reaches Nigeria, is it time for a united global response? For more on this, we have with us Dr. Ambrose Igbok, an international affairs analyst, joining us live from Enugu in Nigeria. Thank you for being with us, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Alyson, for having me on the show today.
What strategic interest would Pakistan or elements within it have in training or supporting terrorist groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP in Nigeria? Could this be a case of state negligence or non-state actors operating independently?
Well, the 2 of them could be tied. The terrorists in northern Nigeria have been infiltrating the country from different axes, especially from the Sahel borders. They have been coming through Chad, they have been coming through Niger, they have infiltrated Nigeria, and they have been supported by terrorist organizations like Islamic State, like that is ISWAP, like the Al-Qaeda, and some other splinter terrorist groups coming from Libya and other parts of North Africa. And they have emboldened them with sophisticated weapons and tactical training. So it is very, very disappointing and surprising that we have people from faraway Pakistan, because before we were thinking we were just terrorists from North Africa that were coming into the country. But this is a frightening dimension that and in faraway Pakistan, people could actually come to train terrorists. So it brings out 2 issues. One, is it that the Pakistani government is not aware that its citizen is busy exporting terrorism to other parts of the world, especially in Nigeria? Or is it that non-state actors are committing terrorism? So in any case, it is a negligence of the government, also of Pakistan, to keep an eye on its citizens. So it is time to actually Nigerian government should engage with the Pakistani government to have some explanations to why this thing is happening, and to make sure that this does not repeat itself, because it's dangerous for Nigerian security and it's dangerous for also our intergovernmental relationship, our diplomatic ties with Pakistan.
Absolutely. And how significant is the presence of foreign fighters, particularly from countries like Pakistan, in operations and training structures of Boko Haram and ISWAP? And what does this say about the transnational nature of these terror networks?
Well, Africa is a transit for small arms. So there have been a lot of proliferation of small arms in the African continent. And then they have been able to use those proliferation to cause a lot of wars. And that is why in Africa, we're always having wars one place or the other. We're always having Janjaweeds. We're always having splinter groups. We're always having terrorist groups, secessionist groups all across the continent. They're everywhere. They're in Ethiopia, they're in Somalia, they're in Sudan, they're in Ethiopia, they're in Nigeria, everywhere. So it's because of the ability to move weapons across the African continent almost freely that emboldens them. And then creating sophisticated structures for these terrorists have enabled them to penetrate deep into many of the African countries. And they no longer operate from the fringes, but they've also been able to use sophisticated gadgets to infiltrate the countries deep into the hinterland. So this is a very dangerous phenomenon. We know that Pakistan is also a nuclear country. They have nuclear weapons, and this is very dangerous. If those kind of weapons get into the hands of terrorists, then we are going to be in very serious trouble. So the structure that are setting up is scary, and it should not be allowed. It should be dismantled, and countries should come together to ensure that this kind of terrorism is not exported.
Right. And Doctor, as you've mentioned there, with the reports of these weapons being smuggled almost freely and training provided by these Pakistani nationals, what implications does this have for Nigeria's counter-terrorism strategy? And how should regional and international partners respond to this emerging threat nexus?
By now, I expected the Nigerian government, if it has not done so, maybe it has already done so, to have called the Pakistani ambassador to the country to answer some questions. Also, for the counter-terrorism, they should wrap up if there are already existing counter-terrorism cooperation between Nigeria and Pakistan. This is the time to wrap it up, and then also try to increase or enhance the capabilities and capacity of the international cooperation, bilateral security relationship between Nigeria and Pakistan. The idea is to ensure that these terrorists are stopped before they ever leave Pakistan to come over. It's a very dangerous activity, and it may threaten the relationship between Nigeria and Pakistan. And this relationship has been on for so many years. So this is not so for the relationship between Nigeria and Pakistan. This will make it very, very precariously tilted, and both countries should tread with caution to ensure that this kind of thing does not happen. So counter-terrorism, Nigeria is trying in its counter-terrorism. Its military, is working hard to ensure that counter-terrorism is not the normal warfare. It's not the normal linear warfare. It's an asymmetric warfare when you're fighting the terrorists, and it's a very difficult one because the terrorists choose soft targets to deal with to cause havoc.
Right.
And the military are trying all they can to ensure that. But with support from foreign elements like the four Pakistani, it's going to make it more difficult. And that is why it has to be stopped in its tracks.
Absolutely. Doctor, as always, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your detailed analysis there.
Thank you very much, Alyson, for always having me on the show.
From Nigeria, we now shift focus to a terror threat in Uganda. The country's capital, Kampala, was rocked by a bomb explosion just ahead of the annual Martyrs' Day celebration. Ugandan security forces say 2 armed terrorists were killed in the blast. This includes a female suicide bomber. The blast occurred near the Roman Catholic Munyano Martyrs Shrine, where a group of pilgrims had gathered to pray. No civilian casualties have been reported.
So reaching there, they told us it was a bomb. Good enough, the security people were there. They told us, no, you stop there and don't gather, you scatter. Because if you gather, you never know what can happen next.
However, local media claims hundreds of lives could have been lost. Martyrs' Day in Uganda is a significant Christian holiday, marking the sacrifice of those killed in the 19th century. Millions of pilgrims were expected to gather at the famed shrine. However, Uganda says its counter-terrorism units intercepted and neutralized the threat in time.
It was an issue of intelligence which was surveilling criminally intended elements who wanted to disrupt worshipping at this site. So as a result, our deployment was too high The surveillance was too high. They thought they were going to get any advantage of fulfilling their mission, only to be put out of action by our security.
Ugandan authorities remain on heightened alert following the incident. Military officials believe the terrorists were affiliated with the Allied Democratic Forces, or the ADF. It is a deadly group linked to the Islamic State. So far, no group has claimed responsibility. However, Uganda has historically faced threats from the ADF. Now, the ADF was formed in the 1990s as an anti-government rebel group in Uganda. In 2019, it pledged allegiance to ISIS. It originally operated from Uganda but has shifted base to the dense forests of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, particularly in North Kivu and Ituri provinces. The ADF is known for extreme violence, including massacres, beheadings, abductions, and village raids. Last year, Ugandan authorities warned that the group was planning to target places of worship, public events, schools, and urban centers. In 2023, the group was accused of carrying out a devastating attack on a Ugandan school, leaving nearly 40 students dead. So a massive tragedy may have been averted this time, but from east to west, the terror threat across Africa is growing relentlessly. The world must act before it's too late. And now to a story from Kenya, a case that has sparked outrage both online and offline. A software developer who built a tool to help people to reject a tax bill was arrested, taken to court, and later released on bail. Now, her name is Rose Njeri. She's a developer and a digital activist based in Nairobi. What was her crime? She wrote a program that helped Kenyans oppose a controversial finance bill. Basically, her website allowed people to object to the bill with just one click. The program would automatically send an email to the National Assembly's Finance Committee. Prosecutors say this interfered with the normal functioning of systems, and they're using the country's cybercrime law against her. Njeri was picked up from her home last Friday. Her electronic devices were also confiscated. But the arrest didn't go unnoticed. From activists to ordinary citizens, a lot of people slammed the move. People took to the streets and to social media to demand her release. Civil society groups said that the arrest was an attack on civic rights. Outside the police station where she was held, protesters gathered on Sunday. Even Amnesty International stepped in. The group said that Njeri's rights had been violated and warned that a fair trial could be at risk. She is now out on bail, but the case is still ongoing. So what's this finance bill about? Now, it's the plan to increase taxes in 2025. Economists warn it could shrink people's incomes and fuel public anger. Last year, a similar proposal triggered massive protests. Those demonstrations turned violent. Dozens were killed and others disappeared. Kenyan President William Ruto's government has amplified crackdown on critics ever since. Njeri's case is now seen as a part of a wider pattern, a regional crackdown on dissent. Not just in Kenya, but also in neighboring countries like Tanzania. 2 weeks ago, the former Kenyan Chief Justice, Willy Mutunga, and activists Hanifa Adan and Hussein Khalid were deported from Tanzania. They had gone there to attend a treason hearing involving the opposition leader Tundu Lissu. Another Kenyan activist, Boniface Mwangi, and the Ugandan lawyer, Agatha Atuhaire, said that they were sexually assaulted by Tanzanian security officers, and those allegations sparked another wave of condemnation.
Tanzania bears a duty under the United Nations Convention Against Torture to protect all people against torture. Torture and cruel, inhumane and degrading treatment are serious crimes under multiple treaties and international law. The government of Tanzania must arrest and prosecute all officers suspected of responsibility for the human rights violation against Boniface Mwangi and Agatha Atuhaire and bring them to justice in a fair trial.
In Kenya, the Police Reforms Working Group, along with the Law Society of Kenya, held a press conference. They urged the East African and international community to hold Tanzanian officers accountable for torture and assault. So to recap, a Kenyan developer built a tool to help people. She was arrested citing cybercrime laws. But her case struck a nerve, sparking outrage and raising bigger questions about freedom. And for our last story, we look at Zimbabwe, a country known for its rich wildlife. Now it's planning to cull dozens of elephants, not because of any climate disaster, but to control an exploding population. Basically, there are too many of them, and their numbers have grown beyond what the wildlife reserves can handle. So authorities plan to kill some of these animals. At least 50 elephants will be culled, and the meat will be distributed to local communities. That's the plan. These elephants are located in a private game reserve called the Save Valley Conservancy. This is where the culling operation will begin. But there's no clear timeline. Zimbabwe hasn't said how long the cull will last, or whether it will end at just 50 elephants. The Save Valley Conservancy holds over 2,500 elephants, but it was designed to sustain just 800. That's more than 3 times its capacity. Imagine stuffing 3 elephants into a space meant for 1. To ease the burden, some elephants have been moved to other shelters. At least 200 were relocated over 5 years, and this is just one sanctuary in Zimbabwe. As for the meat, it will go to local communities. But what happens to the ivory? That will be preserved by the park and authorities. You see, trading ivory is illegal worldwide, and this ban was put in place back in 1989 to curb poaching. But here's the problem. Zimbabwe has massive stockpiles of ivory, and it's not allowed to sell them internationally. The decision to cull elephants came right after an ivory bust. 4 people were arrested in Harare for allegedly trying to sell over 230 kilograms of ivory. And this isn't the first time Zimbabwe has culled elephants. In 2024, the country killed 200 of them after a devastating drought caused severe food shortages. It was the first major cull since 1988.
We can't leave people dying of hunger when we have got overpopulation of elephants, elephants which are destroying their own habitats, elephants which are destroying habitat for other animals, elephants which are causing erosion, elephants which are destroying everything and killing people.
But activists warn that repeated culling is damaging Zimbabwe's global image. And there's another problem. Elephants are a major tourism attraction. The country is home to around 100,000 elephants. Zimbabwe has the second largest elephant population in the world, and these creatures are a crucial part of the ecosystem. They don't just live in the wild, they shape it. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.